My 24-year-old law student sister excluded me from Christmas dinner because she was ashamed to introduce her doctor boyfriend to just a plumber, the same plumber who had quietly paid $77,000 in her law school tuition and living expenses over 4 years without missing a single payment. I didn't find out directly. I found out through screenshots from our family group chat, where Amanda explained that having me at Christmas would be awkward and embarrassing because blue-collar workers didn't fit the image she was trying to present to her medical student boyfriend, Marcus. The irony? Every semester she accepted what she openly referred to as my dirty plumber money without hesitation. Tuition, fees, books, rent, while simultaneously making sure the people she wanted to impress never knew I existed. She wasn't ashamed when the payment portals opened. She was only ashamed when my name might be seen. Meanwhile, I was running a successful plumbing business, employing 6 people, managing commercial contracts worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and earning more annually than most of her law professors. But apparently none of that counted because I worked with my hands instead of sitting behind a desk. Her final tuition bill, $21,500, was due in 2 weeks. And despite excluding me from Christmas, Amanda was still sending payment reminders in the family chat like clockwork, as if I were a personal ATM with no feelings, no dignity, and no right to expect basic respect. And in about 10 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how just a plumber handled that situation. Starting with the screenshots that proved her deliberate betrayal, the bank records documenting 4 years of support, and ending with her public meltdown at my shop when she realized her personal ATM had permanently shut down. Because when someone is embarrassed by your existence but dependent on your money, the most effective response isn't anger. It's letting them experience life without it. Let me explain how I ended up bankrolling someone who considered my success embarrassing. I started my plumbing business 15 years ago with a used truck, basic tools, and 0 connections. No family money, no college degree, just the willingness to work harder than everyone else and treat customers like they mattered. By year 3, I was hiring my first employee. By year 7, I had a shop, commercial contracts, and a reputation for being the guy who showed up when he said he would and fixed things right the first time. Today, I employ 6 people, handle everything from residential service calls to major commercial installations, and bring in about $150,000 a year. Not bad for someone who works with his hands. My clients include office buildings, restaurants, and medical facilities, places where a single day of downtime costs more than most people make in a month. When a surgery center has a water emergency, they don't call someone with an MBA. They call me. I'd built something real while she was still in school. But in my family, none of that mattered. What mattered was that Amanda got accepted to law school. What mattered was that she was going to be a lawyer, the first in our family. What mattered was that she represented everything our working-class background had supposedly been building toward. Our parents treated her acceptance letter like a lottery ticket. Every conversation became about Amanda's future, Amanda's potential, Amanda's bright career ahead. Family gatherings turned into progress reports on her grades, her internships, her networking opportunities. I was proud of her too. Law school is hard. Getting in is harder. And Amanda had always been smart, probably the smartest person in our family. But somewhere along the way, Amanda's academic success stopped being one success and started being the only one that counted. A plumber was useful. A lawyer was impressive. A plumber paid bills. A lawyer made the family respectable. When the first tuition bill arrived, I didn't hesitate. $22,000 for the semester. I had it. She needed it. Family helps family. The next semester, same thing. Then living expenses when her part-time job didn't cover rent. Then books, fees, bar prep deposits, application costs for internships that didn't pay but looked good on resumes. The requests were always framed the same way. It's just this once. They never were. Amanda never asked if I could afford it. Never talked about loans. Never mentioned repayment. The assumption was baked in. I'd handle it because I always had. The bills just showed up. Screenshots, PDFs, due dates highlighted. And I paid them. Tuition climbed each year. $22,000 became $21,000, then $23,000. Living expenses stayed steady at around $800 a month. Books, fees, and miscellaneous costs quietly added several thousand more every year. By the end of year 3, I'd invested over $60,000 in Amanda's legal education. By year 4, it was pushing $80,000. Somewhere between wiring tuition and covering rent, I stopped being her brother and became her solution. I just didn't realize yet that I'd also become her personal ATM. The Christmas invitation that never came should have been the first red flag. For 28 years, Christmas dinner at our parents' house had been automatic. Same date, same time, same arguments about football and politics, same overcooked turkey. I'd never needed an invitation because I'd never not been invited. This year was different. Mid-December rolled around, and I kept waiting for the usual group text, what time to show up, who was bringing dessert, whether we were doing gifts or not. Instead, there was nothing. No messages, no plans, just silence. When I finally asked Mom about Christmas, she got vague. "We might keep it small this year," she said. "We're not sure what we're doing yet." Christmas had never been a maybe in my family. Then my cousin Sarah called me on December 23rd. "Hey," she said, "are you bringing anything special to Christmas dinner tomorrow?" "What Christmas dinner?" There was a pause. "The one at your parents' house," she said carefully, "with Amanda's boyfriend. Wait, aren't you invited?" That was the moment my stomach dropped. There was a Christmas dinner at my parents' house. A full family gathering where Amanda was introducing her medical student boyfriend, Marcus. And I was the only one who didn't know about it. When I pressed Sarah for answers, her tone shifted. "You should probably talk to Amanda." But I didn't need to. 30 minutes later, Sarah sent me screenshots. Family group chat messages dated 2 weeks earlier, a conversation I'd been deliberately excluded from. Messages from Amanda explaining why this Christmas needed to be different. Messages about Marcus coming from a professional family. Messages about how first impressions mattered in serious relationships. And then the one that settled it. A message where Amanda explicitly asked everyone not to mention her brother because I was just a plumber, and it might complicate things with Marcus and his parents, both doctors. She hadn't forgotten to invite me. She'd removed me. $77,000 in tuition payments, and I was too embarrassing to sit at the table. I'd spent 4 years funding Amanda's future, and she'd spent 2 weeks coordinating my disappearance so she could pretend I didn't exist. Because apparently being a successful business owner who worked with his hands and paid her bills wasn't the kind of family she wanted a doctor to know about. I called Amanda that night, not to yell, not to create drama, just to hear how someone justified hiding their own brother from the boyfriend whose medical school tuition I was probably helping fund. She picked up on the third ring, cheerful and distracted. "So, hey, what's up?" "Sarah told me about Christmas dinner tomorrow." The silence was immediate. "Oh," her tone shifted. "Listen, it's not what you think." "What I think," I said calmly, "is that you organized a family Christmas and deliberately didn't invite me. Am I wrong?" Another pause, then the defensiveness kicked in. "Marcus doesn't really understand different types of work situations," she said. "His family is very traditional. His dad runs a surgical practice. His mom's a cardiologist. They have expectations." "Expectations about what?" "About the kinds of people their son associates with." "Associates with," I repeated. "You're talking about me." She sighed like I was being slow. "His colleagues wouldn't understand your situation. It's not personal. My situation, like running a successful business, was a diagnosis." The conversation went downhill fast. "Look," Amanda said, "you're just a plumber. Marcus is going to be a surgeon. His whole social circle is doctors, lawyers, professionals. They don't really mingle with trade workers." "Just a plumber." She said it like it was a neutral fact. "Amanda," I said, "I make more money than most of the lawyers you know." "It's not about money," she replied quickly. "It's about perception. When Marcus introduces his girlfriend's family, they need to reflect well on him." Then she shifted tactics. She claimed she was practically independent, that my financial help was temporary, that lots of families support each other. "I work 30 hours a week at law review," she said. "I have income." How much?" "Yeah, enough." "Amanda, your rent is $1,200 a month. Your job pays $15 an hour. After taxes, that doesn't even cover housing. I pay your tuition, rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, everything." "That's not true," she snapped. "I'm basically independent." She said it while living entirely on my money. When I finally said the number out loud, her mask slipped. "You realize I've given you almost $80,000, right?" "It's not like you earned it the hard way," she said. "You didn't go to college. Plumbing money is easy money." Easy money. 15 years of building a business, employing 6 people, and handling contracts worth more than her entire tuition. And when I'm a lawyer, she added, I'll bring real value to this family. Connections, respectability. This is an investment in something bigger. Then she said the line that clarified everything. I know the money feels dirty to you because of how you earned it, but I'm using it for something clean, something respectable. Dirty money. My income was dirty, but clean enough to pay her law school tuition. Just not clean enough to earn me a seat at Christmas dinner. I hung up the phone feeling like I'd been talking to a stranger. This was the same person who'd been sending me tuition reminders every semester for 4 years. The same person who knew every deadline, every amount, every fee. The same person who'd never once suggested loans or alternatives. But apparently I was also too embarrassing to sit at Christmas dinner. The next semester's bill was due January 15th, 2 weeks away. $21,500, plus fees, plus housing that ran about $800 a month. Amanda had already sent me the payment portal login, just like always. Same routine, same assumption. That's when the pressure campaign started. Mom called first. Amanda's really upset about Christmas, she said. She feels awful about the misunderstanding. What misunderstanding? She was nervous. Marcus is important to her. She just wanted things to go smoothly. But by excluding me, she didn't mean it that way, and now she's worried you might be angry about the tuition. There it was. Not worried about what she'd said, not worried about how she'd treated me, worried about the money. Dad called next. So? Family sticks together, he said. She made a mistake, but you don't want to hurt her future over one bad decision. What about 4 years of good decisions to pay her bills? That's exactly why you shouldn't stop now. You've invested too much. Then came the group texts. Mom, Dad, aunts. Amanda was stressed. Amanda was under pressure. Amanda needed support. None of them mentioned Christmas. None of them questioned her behavior. The family wasn't upset about what she did. They were anxious about losing their ATM. Amanda's calls started after New Year's. I handled Christmas badly, she said, sounding practiced. Marcus brings out insecurities. I overcompensated. What exactly are you apologizing for? For making you feel excluded. I didn't feel excluded. You excluded me. Right, that. I'm sorry for that too. Every apology stopped just short of respect. Every call ended with the same reminder. The payment portal should still work, she'd say. Same login as last semester. By January 10th, the mask dropped. Look, she said, I know I screwed up, but the payment is due in 5 days. Whatever issues we have can't affect my education. The education I'm paying for. Yes, she replied, and I need you to keep doing that. Just one more semester. That's when it clicked. They weren't asking, they weren't apologizing, they were collecting. 4 years of generosity had turned into entitlement. My help had become their expectation, and my silence had taught them I'd always pay. Amanda wasn't asking for help anymore. She was issuing payroll instructions. That's when I decided to do what Amanda had never bothered to do in 4 years of taking my money. I sat down and actually looked at the numbers. Not the vague, hand-wavy, family helps family version everyone kept throwing at me. The real numbers, bank transfers, dates, amounts, totals. I pulled up my bank records and started adding. Fall 2020, $22,000 for tuition, $800 a month for housing from September through May. Total, $29,200. Spring 2021, $21,800 tuition. Same housing plus $1,200 for books and mandatory fees she told me were non-negotiable. Total, $30,400. Fall 2021, $22,500 tuition. Housing again, plus $2,000 for bar exam prep courses and application fees. She needed early to stay competitive. Total, $31,700. Spring 2022, $23,000 tuition, housing, and a steady drip of miscellaneous costs that somehow never stopped appearing. Total, $32,100. And now the final ask, $21,500 for the last semester due January 15th, plus housing, plus fees. 4 years, every semester, documented down to the penny. $77,000. That number didn't include interest I could have earned if that money had stayed in my business. It didn't include equipment upgrades I postponed or contracts I turned down because cash flow was tighter than it needed to be. It was just the raw transfers, money that left my account and never came back. $77,000 bought 4 years of education and exactly zero respect. But the bank records were only half of it. The other half was sitting in my phone, in screenshots Sarah had sent me from the family group chat I'd been quietly removed from, the same chat where tuition reminders were discussed openly, but my existence was treated like a liability. I reread the messages slowly this time. December 8th, I need everyone to understand that this Christmas is really important to me. Marcus comes from a very professional family and first impressions matter. December 9th, I think it would be better if we kept the gathering focused on immediate family only. Some people might not understand the dynamics of what Marcus and I are building. December 10th, please don't mention my brother's job. Marcus's parents are both doctors and they have certain expectations about their social circle. December 11th, the one that made my stomach tighten. I know this sounds bad, but Marcus can't find out I have a brother who's just a plumber. It would complicate everything we're trying to build together. There was no confusion, no accident, no misunderstanding. Amanda hadn't forgotten to invite me. She had planned around me. Then I looked at what she was so eager to hide. 15 years of building a plumbing business from nothing. A used truck, basic tools, and a willingness to work jobs other people didn't want. 6 employees who relied on me for their paychecks. Commercial contracts where a single mistake could cost tens of thousands of dollars. Office buildings, restaurants, medical facilities, places where downtime mattered, places where they didn't ask what degree you had, they asked whether you could fix the problem fast and correctly. Annual revenue that exceeded what most of her law professors made. Net income that put me solidly in the top tier of earners in our city. A business profitable enough to fund someone else's entire legal education without putting me in financial danger. And still, in Amanda's words, I was just a plumber. The timeline made it worse. Marcus hadn't appeared out of nowhere. He'd been in the picture since October. This Christmas introduction wasn't spontaneous. It had been planned for months. Amanda had 8 weeks to figure out how to introduce her brother to her boyfriend honestly. Instead, she spent 8 weeks figuring out how to erase me. Not impulsive, not pressured, strategic. The pattern stretched back further than Christmas. Every semester, my dirty plumber money paid her tuition. Every semester, my job went unmentioned when she talked about family. Every social media post showed smiling relatives where I was somehow always missing. Every law school event she attended alone, never mentioning she had a brother who could afford to be there. 4 years of financial dependence paired with social distance. My money was clean enough to spend. My presence was too dirty to acknowledge. That was the moment everything snapped into focus. This wasn't about stress, it wasn't about anxiety, it wasn't about one bad decision. This was a system. I paid, she ascended, I funded, she curated, I existed financially but not socially. And once I saw the pattern laid out in numbers, dates, and screenshots, I couldn't unsee it. $77,000 hadn't bought gratitude. It hadn't bought loyalty, it hadn't even bought honesty. It had bought entitlement. And that was the moment I stopped asking myself whether I was being unfair, and started asking why I'd allowed myself to be treated like a personal ATM for someone who was embarrassed to admit I existed. The decision wasn't emotional, it was mathematical. $77,000 for 4 years of being someone's financial solution while being their social embarrassment. $21,500 to fund the final semester of someone who considered my life's work shameful. The math didn't work in my favor. So on January 10th, 5 days before the tuition deadline, I logged into the payment portal Amanda had helpfully shared with me and changed the password. Then I removed my bank account information. Then I deleted my saved payment methods. I didn't stop there. I called my bank and specifically instructed them to decline any payment requests from the university Amanda or anyone claiming to act on her behalf. I wanted a paper trail showing I'd actively terminated my financial involvement. I canceled every automatic payment and closed every funding door. This wasn't punishment, it wasn't revenge, it was boundary enforcement. I wasn't taking something away from Amanda. I was simply stopping myself from being used. There's a difference, even if my family refused to see it. Next came preparing for the fallout because I knew exactly what was coming. My family operates on a simple hierarchy. Amanda's comfort comes first. Everything else is negotiable. When Amanda's tuition payment didn't go through, the pressure wouldn't be subtle. There would be guilt trips. After everything you've invested, you're really going to let her fail now? There would be manipulation. She's learned her lesson. Don't you believe in second chances? There would be emotional blackmail. You're destroying the family over one mistake. I prepared responses for all of it. The financial investment argument? Sunk cost fallacy. You don't throw good money after bad just because you've already thrown good money after bad. The family unity argument? Family unity works both ways. If Amanda wanted family support, she shouldn't have excluded family members. The second chance argument? Amanda had been given 4 years of chances. She used every one of them to take my money while hiding my existence. I also prepared for escalation beyond guilt. Threats, legal intimidation, calls to the school, calls to my parents framed as concern. People who feel entitled to your money rarely let go quietly when access is revoked. I prepared for the family to choose Amanda's comfort over my respect, but I also had to think about my business. Amanda's reaction to losing her funding was going to be dramatic, and I couldn't let her drama spill into my professional life. I briefed Mike, my most senior employee, about potential family complications. If anyone shows up here causing problems, looking for me personally, or trying to create a scene, I told him, call me immediately. Don't engage, don't explain, just call. I also made sure all my current contracts were solid and my customer relationships were protected. If Amanda decided to get vindictive, I wanted my business insulated from whatever fallout was coming. I warned Mike that Amanda might try something desperate. The final step was the best part. Realizing what my life looked like without a $21,000 anchor dragging down my finances every semester. I ran the numbers. Without Amanda's tuition payments, I could expand my business, hire another employee, invest in better equipment, take on larger commercial contracts that required more upfront capital. Or I could do something completely different. Travel, buy a house, invest, start a retirement fund that wouldn't be constantly drained by someone else's educational expenses. For the first time in 4 years, my income was actually mine. No tuition deadlines, no housing costs, no miscellaneous fees that appeared whenever Amanda needed extra money. No payment portals, no screenshots of bills forwarded to me like collection notices. The money I earned from my dirty plumbing work could stay in my dirty plumber bank account and be spent on my embarrassing plumber life. For the first time, my money was mine to keep, and I knew Amanda wasn't going to accept that quietly. Amanda showed up at my shop on January 16th, the day after her tuition deadline had come and gone unpaid. It was 2:30 on a Tuesday afternoon, middle of my busiest day. I was in the back office when Mike knocked on the door, looking uncomfortable. "Boss," he said, "your sister's here and she's not happy." I could hear Amanda's voice before I reached the front. Sharp, demanding, cutting through the normal sounds of business. "I know he's here," she was telling Mike. "His truck's outside. Where is he?" When I walked out, Amanda was standing near the counter in full law school armor, pressed slacks, blazer, briefcase. The outfit designed to announce she belonged in boardrooms, not blue-collar workplaces. 2 customers were waiting, Mrs. Rodriguez from the restaurant downtown and Tom from the medical center. Both were watching carefully. Amanda burst into my shop like she owned it. "We need to talk," she announced, "right now." "About what?" "The payment didn't go through. The school called yesterday. They're freezing my registration." I was aware of Mike pretending to organize paperwork. I was aware of my customers shifting uncomfortably. Amanda seemed oblivious to the audience. "That's because I didn't make the payment," I said evenly. "What do you mean? It's due January 15th. You always handle it." "I used to handle it." Amanda's composure cracked. "This isn't a joke. I have 1 semester left. I'm supposed to graduate in May, take the bar in July. You can't just stop now." "Actually, I can stop anytime I want." "No, you can't. We have an arrangement." "We had an arrangement where I voluntarily paid your bills. You broke that when you decided I was too embarrassing to acknowledge." The shop went quiet except for the hum of the space heater. Amanda noticed the customers for the first time. Her voice dropped slightly, but not enough. "Look, I know you're upset about Christmas, but this is bigger than your hurt feelings. This is my career. You can't let your ego about your job ruin everything I've built." The way she said job, like it tasted bad. Mike's pen stopped moving. Mrs. Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. Tom folded his arms. "My job," I repeated. "This is plumbing, manual labor. It's not like what I'm doing affects anyone important. I'm going to be a lawyer, represent people, make decisions that matter, contribute to society." She called my business Just Plumbing in front of paying customers. Mrs. Rodriguez, whose restaurant employed 32 people and whose water emergency could have shut down operations without my intervention, was hearing how my work didn't matter. Tom, whose medical center performed surgeries that depended on systems I maintained, was hearing how my contributions weren't important. Amanda, I said quietly, you should leave, now. I'm not leaving until you fix this. Log into the portal, transfer the money. Stop this tantrum. What I'm supposed to do? Pay for my education, like you have been, like you agreed to do. I agreed to help. I never agreed to be your personal ATM while you pretended I didn't exist. Amanda's mask finally slipped. You make $150,000 fixing toilets, she shouted. $21,000 is nothing. 2 months of work, you spend more on truck maintenance. Now everyone was staring. Other customers in the parking lot were looking through windows. If $21,000 is nothing, I said, get a student loan. I can't get a loan this late. My whole life depends on this payment. That's when Amanda lost control completely. She started screaming about how I was destroying her future and ruining everything she'd worked for and sabotaging her career over one stupid family dinner. Her voice echoed off concrete floors and metal walls, filling the shop with accusations and demands. Mike stepped forward. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to lower your voice or leave. Amanda spun on him. This is between family members. This has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with me when customers can't conduct business because of yelling. That's when Amanda made the mistake that revealed everything. She looked around the shop, at the tools, the organized supplies, the work truck with my business name painted on the side, and her face twisted with disgust. This whole place is pathetic, she said loud enough for everyone to hear. He's a plumber. This isn't a real business. This isn't real work. People like Marcus and I are building careers that matter. This is just maintenance. Mrs. Rodriguez quietly set down her invoice and walked toward the door. Tom followed, shaking his head. Amanda had just insulted 2 of my best customers, dismissed their problems as unimportant, and told them their business wasn't worth having, all while standing in the shop that had funded her entire legal education. She screamed about how I was ruining her life in front of everyone. But Amanda had just ruined herself. In front of witnesses, she'd shown exactly who she was. Someone who would take dirty plumber money for 4 years, but couldn't show dirty plumber work 5 minutes of respect. Someone who'd built her entire future on work she considered beneath her. And now everyone knew it. I looked at Mike and gave a small nod. Close the front door, I said calmly. Mike didn't hesitate. He flipped the sign to closed and locked it while Amanda was still standing there, mid-rant. You can leave now, I told her. You're disrupting my business. This isn't over, Amanda snapped, grabbing her briefcase. You're going to regret this. I already paid $77,000 to learn exactly who you are, I replied. That lesson was expensive enough. She stood there for a moment, realizing no one was coming to fix this for her. Then she turned and walked out. The shop went quiet. Mike looked at me. You okay, boss? I nodded. Yeah, I said. I just shut down the most expensive leak in my life. The consequences arrived faster than I expected. Amanda lasted exactly 3 weeks without my funding before reality caught up with the future she'd built on my bank account. First, the university dropped her from classes when the tuition deadline passed with no payment. No extensions, no exceptions. Law school didn't care about family drama or hurt feelings. Money in or you're out. A week later, the bar exam registration she'd been so proud of was canceled. Turns out you can't sit for the bar if you're not graduating. 4 years of planning evaporated because one payment didn't clear. Marcus disappeared 2 days after that. According to my cousin Sarah, who suddenly found my existence very relevant again, the breakup happened over text. Short, polite, vague, something about needing stability and different life trajectories. Apparently, a law student who couldn't afford her final semester wasn't the kind of girlfriend who impressed surgical residency circles. The same social world Amanda had been desperate to impress lost interest the moment her financial backing disappeared. Funny how fast respect evaporates when the money does. My parents called once, not to apologize, just to ask if I was sure about my decision. I told them I was very sure. No more tuition portals, no more forwarded bills. No more pretending that being a personal ATM was the same thing as being a brother. Amanda never showed up at my shop again. I heard she picked up extra shifts, started reconsidering her options, and began telling people she'd decided to take time off voluntarily. The story changed depending on who she was talking to. I didn't correct it, I didn't need to. Meanwhile, my life got quieter. The money that used to vanish every semester stayed in my account. I upgraded equipment, gave my crew raises, took on a commercial contract I'd been putting off for years because I finally had the cash flow to do it right. Nobody at my shop was embarrassed of me. Nobody needed me hidden. Nobody called my work dirty. Customers shook my hand. Employees showed up early. My business kept growing because real work actually matters to real people. I didn't ruin Amanda's future. I just stopped paying for a future where I wasn't allowed to exist. Turns out, when you stop acting like a personal ATM, people who only valued you for money disappear fast. And honestly, that felt cleaner than any apology ever could.